Hi, welcome to the small shed. Today I'm going to be finishing off the last of the major tool storage carts in the shed. See you in a minute. Now, as far as carts go, this one is pretty much the same as the previous ones that have gone before, so I shan't spend too long dwelling on its construction because it's pretty much a repeat of everything you've seen before. But this one is significant. It's for the planer that I bought some while ago second hand, and I haven't really used yet. It's been sitting on the floor in the corner of the shed, and what that's done is effectively lock up the whole of the shed. The whole point of having the carts is that you can move them around, and like those puzzles that you use to slot letters around to make up words, you need a space for a piece to move into before you can move the other pieces. And while I'd got a space to move into, one of the pieces was effectively glued down in the corner, and that was the planer, which meant I wasn't really able to get much use of moving things around and pulling them into the middle of the shed. So hopefully this will unlock all of that problem and make working more efficient in here, and I'll stop me having to carry things around. So we'll get into the build. I'll quickly run through what I've done with it. As I say, most of it is repeat of what we've done before, so I'll skip through fairly rapidly and have a look at it then when it's finished. So I started off with my new revised system of making the carts, which is essentially a sheet of 3/4 ply, as I've done on the underbench one for the Triton and the miter saw station. Drilling out for the casters as well. There's just a hole at each corner for the vertical aluminium, which is not as strong as doing the whole thing out of aluminium, but it's considerably cheaper. It saves a fair bit of aluminium in the whole scheme of things. And then just drilling out the self-tapping screws in the end of the aluminium so that that's ready to screw through into the base. The intention is to lift up the planer thicknesser so that that table will be at the 900mm height that all the carts and everything else is set at. So that will then need an intermediate rail, which is that one, which will sit in there, and that will carry the planer thicknesser bottom so that the top is level with that, and then when it's not in use it can be stored down below down there. So that's the task for today. I'm determined to get that up and running today so that that cart is done. I can get that piece of timber cut to the top to bear the weight of the actual planer thicknesser itself. Just fitting the top rails to the cart just to get it set to the right sort of levels and things, so I can measure off the ground to mark out the intermediate positions. At this stage you can see that the verticals are still pretty wobbly. There's very little strength in it at the moment because essentially it's just a 40x40 end screwed to a piece of timber. But once you start to add the various components to brace it up, it becomes a much more rigid structure. Now I've got the plastic insert that I've bought last time I had the delivery of stuff from KJN, and this seems to be ideal for situations like this where I don't need the clamping facility on the top rail. It keeps the dust out of the grooves and stops me losing bits inside that top slot. So I then, once they were in place, and cut to size, drilled the ends, the verticals, and drilled them on the side as well, And you can see again here the confines of the small shed, how difficult it is to do anything like this when you've got essentially the piece of equipment that you're trying to build is taking up the space that you normally have as floor area that's free. But having got over that one, the mid rails were assembled. These intermediate rails are there basically to support the planer itself, so they need to be fairly substantial because there's a bit of weight in this thing. Originally I was going to have it so that I could put the planer underneath it, but I've changed my opinions on that one now, and just cut the shelf to suit once that was done with the TS55 saw. That slots into place in the middle, allows me to put the planer in and hopefully get it off the floor for the last time. There's a fair weight to it, and that now fits again at the same level of everything else, 900mm for the surface above workbench level, above floor level, sorry, so that that ties up with everything else in the shed. Well, that's it, that's the planer thickness of cart finished. There wasn't a great deal different to any of the other mobile carts that have been built, but what's important on this one is it's the last one of the main big tool carts that I was building, so there is now nothing in the workshop that is not mobile, and that will, I'm sure, make a huge difference. I have been hampered for a long while by the fact that stuff wasn't still yet quite mobile even after 9 months. So that's the first thing that's important. Secondly, I was originally going to store this in the bottom half and then use it and pull it into this position when I wanted to use it, and possibly have a flat tabletop on top. I've decided now that I'm going to leave it like it is because I don't need any more tabletop. If I'm tidy, I've got 2 workbenches and the sanding station that I can use. But what it does mean is that I've got a piece of real estate underneath the bench now, which is 400mm high, 700 is it by, I think it's 700 by 500, 800 by 500. And the one thing that's been missing so far all along in the workshop is space for stuff. And by stuff I mean screws, router bits, bits of projects that are underway, things that have arrived in the post, just odds and ends that I haven't had any room for prior to this, and I've just been stacking it on top of other stuff. So that, for instance, now if I want to use the router table, I've got to move 4 chisels, a small circular saw that's like a model one, screws, all sorts of things out of the way, router bits, to even get at the bit that I want. And I hadn't quite solved that problem of where to put things that you need every day, but which don't form a major piece of equipment like the planer or the circular saw. So I've now got a big space to put those in. Don't quite know how I'm going to fill that. Again, that will probably be the subject of another video when I've finally got round to deciding what I'm going to do. But that's it, that's the last cart done. Hope you enjoyed that one. Hope to see you next week, and thanks for all the subscribers, thanks for all the comments, and I'll see you next week. Bye!